Global death toll from this pandemic is now over 7,500.
Coronavirus crisis changes daily life as we know it. Water and paper goods.
What does anyone think for it? Let's fire up the quattro.
Let's fire up the quattro.
So guys, today we are on a mission. As some of you may recall, in my last video, I did mention that my Audi A4 was running a Burger Motorsports JB4 tuning module. Now, this tuner is in the beta testing stages for this platform. It's available for the newer cars that have the Gen 3 motors, but for this EA 888 Gen 2 engine, the Burger Motorsports JB4 is unreleased. So we're kind of helping them get it dialed in and beta testing it for this platform. So as a part of that, we need to see how much power it makes. So we're headed down to TPG Tuning in Export, Pennsylvania. It's about an hour away, and we're going to see what this car makes on the dyno. Now, if I had to guess what this car was producing based on what I've seen cars with flash tunes make, I'm probably thinking 215 to 230 horsepower at the wheels. That would add up to around 265 horsepower at the crank. I think those would be strong numbers, but we won't really know till we get there. And as far as torque goes, I'm hoping for around 300 foot-pounds at the wheels. But again, we shall see. One thing I do know, though, is this car is pretty darn quick. The JB4 has absolutely transformed the car, and I'll add my thoughts on that a little bit more once we get this car on the dyno and bring it home. Now, for those of you who aren't quite familiar with what a JB4 is, there are two types of tunes that you can get for a car. You can get an ECU flash, which changes the software on the car's ECU, the computer that controls everything, or you can get what's called a piggyback tune. The JB4 is a piggyback. What that does is plug into some of the car's sensors and kind of take control of things that way. So this car, in particular with the JB4, that system plugs into the map sensor, the N75, which is like the electronic boost controller, and the OBD2 port. And from there, it's able to kind of read those values, alter what the ECU sees, and overall boost the performance of the car. And what's really cool is the JB4, and this kind of goes across all the platforms that the JB4 is available on, it's pretty much the most advanced piggyback that you can get. So it leaves all of the factory safety measures in place, and it gives you probably the smoothest throttle response and just kind of power delivery of any of the piggyback tunes that you can get. Certainly, that's what I've experienced with this setup. It's been amazing. But more on that later. Let's head down to TPG Tuning and see what this car makes on the dyno. Alright guys, so the big question is, how did we do on the dyno? Well, the news is actually pretty good. So I was anticipating anywhere between 215 and 230 horsepower at the wheels. This is a Mustang dyno that we went on, and just given the numbers I had seen from Stage 1 cars, those were my expectations. However, we made 250 horsepower at all four wheels on the Mustang dyno. 250. And torque was all the way up at 311 foot-pounds at the wheels. I'm over the moon about this. If you do the horsepower loss calculation, that means we're making around 290 horsepower at the crank, which is pretty awesome considering that this car started at 211 from the factory. At least that's what Audi claimed. We did do some runs in Map 0. The Map 0 runs are around 220 horsepower at the wheels. I suspect that Map 0 was still adding a little bit of boost. I was kind of watching the run on my phone using the JB4 app, and the boost was kind of up there, and then it seemed like it cut boost a little bit because it was boosting too much. It didn't quite seem perfectly refined. I'm told that my car has been the only one with this little blip, so I think as a result of that, it was making a little bit more boost than you would actually see on a stock A4. Because 211 or 220, at the wheels stock seems a little bit ambitious because this car otherwise is completely stock, other than the JB4. So what do these numbers tell us? Well, first off, they're telling us that the JB4 is extremely potent. Now, I didn't need the numbers to tell me this, just the feeling behind the wheel, you can 100% notice the JB4 there. It makes a huge difference. I've driven the car stock with the JB4 unplugged a couple times since getting it installed, and the difference is night and day. You almost can't believe that you drove the car for so long stock once you revert back for a brief bit. It's unbelievable. You get so much torque, and the neat thing about it is the delivery is very smooth. So it doesn't feel kind of hacked together like a lot of other piggyback tunes tend to feel. It's a very factory power delivery, which is really appealing. Also, in terms of horsepower, you do get a lot more horsepower, obviously, and you notice that up top. Before, the car really felt like it was falling flat on its face in the higher RPMs. Now it really feels like it kind of holds its own a bit better. So yeah, I'm over the moon about the level of performance that we've been able to achieve here with the JB4 on this car. We're making more than what you typically see on a stage 1 car with a flash tune. So to have that kind of performance on here is pretty incredible in my book.
Have you ever seen someone so stoked about 250 wheel horsepower? The internet says it isn't much, but the butt dyno says otherwise. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more car modding content, and be sure to subscribe. Till next time,